At 9:17 on a rainy Tuesday morning, I stood outside the county recorder's office with flour still under my fingernails, staring at a deed that said my grandmother's bakery had been sold. My name was on the signature line, but I had not signed it. The paper was warm from the printer when the clerk slid it across the counter. I remember the exact sound it made against the wood. Soft. Ordinary. Like it was not about to split my life open. "Is there a problem?" the clerk asked. I looked down at the buyer's name, the transfer amount, the notary stamp, and the date. March 14th. The same day I had been in the bakery at 4:30 a.m., kneading dough for cinnamon rolls because our oven timer had broken again. My mother had sold my grandmother's bakery while I was inside it, working. For a second I could not even breathe. The room smelled like wet coats, old paper, and cheap coffee. Somewhere behind me, a man laughed into his phone. Someone's toddler dropped a plastic cup. The whole world kept moving while I stared at a forged version of my own name. The signature was close. Too close. My loops. My slant. My middle initial. But the pressure was wrong. Grandma used to say signatures had a heartbeat. Mine looked like someone had copied the shape without knowing the person. I whispered, "This isn't mine." The clerk leaned forward. "You're saying you didn't sign the transfer?" I shook my head. And that was when I saw the second page. The notarized acknowledgement. My mother's best friend Denise was listed as witness. My brother's company was listed as consultant. And the buyer was a developer who had spent 2 years trying to buy every old storefront on Harper Street. My stomach turned cold. Grandma's bakery was not just a building. It was not just sugar, yeast, and an old green awning with peeling gold letters. It was the place where she hid my college fund from my parents. The place she left to me in her will. The place she said would keep me safe when family love turned into a bill. And now my mother had taken it. Not borrowed it. Not asked for help. Not made a mistake. Taken it. The clerk lowered her voice. "You may want to speak with the notary." I looked at the stamp again. There was a phone number. By 10:06, I was sitting in a notary's office across town, holding the deed with shaking hands. The notary, a small gray-haired man named Mr. Alvarez, looked at the document, then looked at me. And he said the sentence that changed everything. "I was hoping you'd come in. Because your mother forgot one thing." I barely recognized my own voice. "What thing?" He turned his computer monitor toward me. The camera was still running. 2. Before everything broke. I was 31 years old when my mother tried to erase me from my own inheritance. My name is Emily Carter, and for most of my life, I was the daughter people called responsible, when they meant useful. I paid bills early. I remembered birthdays. I stayed late. I said, "It's fine," so many times that it became my whole personality. Grandma June saw through that. She owned June's Bakery on Harper Street for 42 years. It was a narrow brick building between a florist and a hardware store, with a bell over the door that made the softest little chime. The floors creaked in winter. The back room always smelled like vanilla and cardboard boxes. The display case fogged up every morning no matter how many times we fixed it. It was imperfect. It was home. When I was 17, after my mother told me I was too dramatic for crying because my brother wrecked my car and blamed me, Grandma drove over, put me in her truck, and took me to the bakery. She handed me an apron and said, "People who don't protect you don't get to define you." That became my first real lesson in love. By 25, I was managing the shop. By 28, I had rebuilt our catering orders, added online pickup, and saved enough to repair the roof. Grandma said I had flour in my blood. My dream was simple. Not glamorous. Not viral. I wanted to keep June's Bakery alive. I wanted kids to come in after school and press their noses to the glass. I wanted old customers to still order the lemon bars they swore healed heartbreak. I wanted Grandma's name to stay on that green awning. When she died, she left the building and the business to me through a trust. Not to my mother. Not to the family. To me. At the reading of the will, my mother sat perfectly still, her lips pressed so tight they turned white. My brother, Ryan, leaned back in his chair and laughed under his breath. "Well," he said, That's convenient. I asked, "What does that mean?" He looked at me like I was stupid. "It means you got the only thing worth anything." My mother did not defend me. She just picked invisible lint off her black dress and said, "Your grandmother always did enjoy making statements." That was how she talked about love she could not control. Like it was an insult. 3. The family favorite. Ryan had always been the golden child. My mother kept his soccer trophies in the living room until he was 29. His college acceptance letter was framed in the hallway, even though he dropped out after one semester. His failed businesses were called learning experiences. His debts were called temporary setbacks. His lies were called misunderstandings. My mistakes had names: selfish, ungrateful, sensitive, difficult. When Ryan crashed my car at 19, Mom told the insurance company I had given him permission. When he borrowed money from Grandma and never paid it back, Mom said family should not keep score. When he missed Grandma's final hospital visit because he had a meeting, Mom said he grieved privately. But when I left the hospital for 1 hour to shower after sleeping in a chair for 3 nights, she told everyone I had abandoned Grandma. That was the family rule. Ryan was always overwhelmed. I was always responsible. My father, Tom, was not cruel in loud ways. He was worse sometimes. He was silent. He stood in doorways with his hands in his pockets while my mother did the damage. Then later when I cried, he would say, "You know how she is," as if knowing the knife made it hurt less. My mother cared about image more than truth. She volunteered at church. She donated expired pastries from the bakery and acted like she had baked them herself. She posted pictures of Grandma every Mother's Day with captions about legacy, sacrifice, and family. But she had not worked one full day in that bakery since 2008. She liked the idea of the bakery. She liked people saying, "Your mother must be so proud." What she did not like was that Grandma had chosen me. After the funeral, Mom started dropping hints. "The building is too much for you. Developers are paying ridiculous money now. You could sell and finally do something practical." I always answered the same way. Grandma didn't want it sold. And Mom always smiled that thin smile. "Your grandmother is gone, Emily." The first time she said it, I felt something small in me fold inward. Because grief had already taken Grandma's body. My mother wanted to take her voice too. Ryan's pressure was less subtle. He had started a property consulting firm, which seemed to mean wearing expensive watches and using words like leverage, equity, and liquidation while living in my parents' guest room. He came into the bakery one afternoon, tapped on the front window and said, "You know this whole block is about to explode in value." I said, "The ovens already do that every summer." He did not laugh. "You're sitting on money you don't know how to use." I wiped powdered sugar off my hands. "I'm running a business." "You're playing bakery," he said. "Mom thinks so too." That was the first time I understood they had been talking about it without me. Not asking. Planning. 4. The betrayal. 3 weeks before I found the deed, my mother invited me to Sunday dinner. That should have been warning enough. She had made pot roast, Ryan's favorite, even though she knew I had not eaten beef since I was 22. My father sat at the end of the table, cutting carrots into tiny pieces. Ryan was already there, scrolling on his phone with one hand and drinking my father's expensive bourbon with the other. Mom waited until dessert to begin. "We need to discuss the bakery." I set down my fork. "No, we don't." Her eyes flicked to Ryan. "See? This is what I mean." Ryan sighed like I was a client wasting his time. You're emotionally attached. That's not strategy." "It's not yours," I said. Mom's voice sharpened. "It belongs to this family. It belongs to the trust Grandma created. She created that trust when she was sick and confused." I stared at her. Grandma had been many things in her last months. Tired, thin, sometimes forgetful about where she had put her glasses. But confused? No. She had known exactly what she was doing. My mother leaned back and crossed her arms. "We have an offer." I felt my pulse in my throat. "Who is we?" Ryan finally looked up. A serious buyer. $780,000. For a moment no one moved. The number hung over the table like smoke. I said, "You had my bakery valued?" Mom slammed her palm on the table. The silverware jumped. "Your bakery?" she snapped. "Your grandmother built that place while I was a child eating cereal for dinner, because she cared more about customers than her own daughter." There it was. The real wound. Not business. Not strategy. Jealousy. I said quietly, "Grandma left it to me because I loved it." My mother's face changed. Cold. Flat. Almost satisfied. "No," she said. "She left it to you because you were easy to manipulate. You always were." The room went silent. That sentence landed somewhere deeper than anger. It touched the child in me who had spent years trying to earn softness from her. I pushed back my chair. Ryan laughed. "Here come the tears." I looked at my father. "Are you going to say anything?" He stared at his plate. "Your mother has a point," he muttered. I left without dessert. As I reached the front door, Mom called after me. "You will thank me when this is over." I turned around. "When what is over?" She smiled. And for the first time I noticed she was not trying to convince me. She was warning me. 5. The moment I stopped begging. After that dinner, things started happening fast. A week later, our flour supplier called and said the billing contact had been changed to my mother's email. Then the bakery's Facebook page posted a strange message announcing exciting future development opportunities. I had not written it. I could not log in to delete it. Then Aunt Carol texted me. "I know change is hard, honey, but your mother says you're being unreasonable about the sale." The sale. Not an offer. Not a discussion. A sale. I called Mom 11 times that day. She ignored everyone. At 8:42 p.m. she sent one message. "Stop embarrassing yourself. This is bigger than your feelings." By morning, half the family group chat was talking about how I was blocking progress. Ryan wrote a long message about financial maturity. My mother said she had tried to include me, but I had become unstable. My father sent one thumbs-up emoji. 1. I sat on the bakery floor behind the counter, phone in my lap, while the first batch of bread burned in the oven. That smell still haunts me. Burnt bread smells like failure before anyone even sees it. At 10:30, Mr. Jacobs from the hardware store walked in. He was 76 and had bought a blueberry muffin every Friday since before I was born. He took one look at my face and said, "Who died this time?" I tried to laugh. Instead I cried. Not pretty crying. Not quiet movie tears. I bent forward with my hands over my mouth because I did not want customers to hear me breaking. Mr. Jacobs locked the front door. Then he turned the sign to closed. "Tell me," he said. So I did. I told him about the offer, the group chat, the changed passwords, the supplier, the family calling me selfish. He listened without interrupting. Then he said, "Your grandmother came to me 2 months before she passed." I wiped my face. "What?" She was worried they'd try something. Something cold moved through me. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a business card. "Call this lawyer. Today. June told me to give it to you if they ever made you feel crazy." I stared at the card. Lydia Chun, estate attorney. Under the name in Grandma's handwriting were 4 words. "Emily, don't beg. Prove." That was the moment I stopped begging. Not because I stopped hurting. Because Grandma had seen it coming. And if she had seen it coming, maybe she had left more than a bakery behind. Maybe she had left a map. 6. What they didn't know. Lydia Chen's office was on the 3rd floor of a building that smelled like lemon polish and old books. She was calm in a way that made me feel less like my life was on fire. She read the deed I had picked up from the county recorder. She read the trust documents. Then she asked me one question. "Did you sign anything on March 14th? No. Were you physically present with this notary? No. Did anyone have access to your driver's license?" I closed my eyes. My mother had borrowed it 2 weeks earlier. She said she needed a copy for insurance paperwork related to Grandma's estate. I had sent her a photo. Lydia's jaw tightened. That's how. I felt stupid. Small. Like I had handed my own key to the person robbing me. Lydia slid a tissue box toward me but did not soften the truth. Emily, this appears to be fraud. But we need proof strong enough to stop the sale before the buyer records final financing documents. There's a deadline? Friday at noon. It was Wednesday. 48 hours. She called the notary first. Mr. Alvarez answered on speaker. His voice was careful. Yes, he said. I remember the appointment. Lydia asked. Was Emily Carter present? There was a pause. Then he said, no. My hand flew to my mouth. He continued. A woman was presented to me as Emily Carter. She was wearing sunglasses indoors. I refused to complete the notarization until she removed them and answered identity questions. Mrs. Carter became agitated. Then why is your stamp on the deed? Lydia asked. Another pause. Because Mrs. Carter returned later with a different document already bearing my stamp impression from a prior legitimate estate form. It appears she used a copied seal image. That acknowledgement is not mine. My mother had not just forged my signature. She had forged the notary too. Then Mr. Alvarez said the line from the opening of this story. I kept the camera running. His office used continuous recording for remote notarization sessions and security after a break in the previous year. The appointment had been captured from start to finish. My mother walking in. Ryan handing her a folder. Denise asking, can't you just stamp it? My mother saying, my daughter is emotional. We're saving her from herself. And then the worst part. Ryan laughing as he practiced my signature on a yellow legal pad. She makes her E like this, he said. See? Easy. I watched that clip in Lydia's office with my hands pressed together so tightly my knuckles ached. I did not scream. I did not throw anything. I just went very still. Lydia noticed. Emily. I looked at the frozen image of my brother copying my name. I spent my whole life trying to prove I was not what they said I was. I whispered. And they were in a room practicing how to become me. Lydia closed the laptop gently. There's more, she said. Grandma's trust had a clause I had never noticed. If anyone attempted to transfer, sell, encumber or manipulate the bakery through fraud or coercion, they would be permanently barred from receiving any remaining estate distributions. Grandma had written a trapdoor into the floor, and my mother had stepped right onto it. 7. The reveal. The public reveal happened 2 days later at 11 a.m. inside the Harper Street Community Hall. My mother chose the place herself. That was the part one still think about. She could have signed quietly. She could have hidden behind lawyers. But she wanted applause. The buyer, a developer named Grant Holloway, had organized a revitalization announcement for the block. There were folding chairs, coffee urns, a banner that said Building the Future of Harper Street, and a small crowd of business owners, relatives, church friends, and city council members. My mother wore cream. She always wore cream when she wanted to look innocent. Ryan wore a navy suit that still had the sleeve tag on it. My father stood near the wall, quiet as ever. Denise sat in the second row, twisting her wedding ring. I arrived 5 minutes before the announcement with Lydia beside me. I wore my bakery apron over a black dress. The apron was faded blue with a small burn mark near the pocket from the time Grandma dropped a tray of rolls and blamed the oven for having an attitude. When I walked in, conversations dipped. My mother saw me and smiled like I was late to my own funeral. Emily, she said brightly, this isn't the place. I looked around the room. No, I think it is. Ryan stepped close enough that only I could hear him. Don't do this, he said. You already lost. For 1 second, the old me almost answered. The old me would have whispered, why are you doing this? The old me would have tried to make him feel guilty. But I had learned something. People who can forge your name are not confused about hurting you. They are counting on your disbelief. So I said nothing. That silence bothered him more than shouting would have. Grant Holloway stepped up to the microphone and thanked everyone for coming. He talked about growth, opportunity, modern mixed-use spaces. preserving community spirit while embracing new investment. He never once said bakery. Then my mother joined him at the front. She placed one hand over her heart. My mother June loved this town, she said. And while my daughter has struggled emotionally with letting go, our family believes this is what June would have wanted. My vision narrowed. The room blurred at the edges. There it was again. My grief turned into instability. My inheritance turned into family property. My grandmother's voice put inside my mother's mouth. Mom continued. Sometimes leadership means making painful decisions for people who can't make them for themselves. A few people nodded. Aunt Carol dabbed her eyes. Ryan smirked. Lydia touched my elbow. Not yet. Grant lifted a folder. With the signed deed and family approval secured, we are proud to announce. That deed is forged, Lydia said. She did not shout. She did not need to. The room went so silent I heard the coffee machine click off. My mother laughed once. Excuse me. Lydia stepped forward. My name is Lydia Chen. I represent Emily Carter, lawful trustee and owner of June's Bakery. The deed being referenced today contains a forged signature and a fraudulent notary acknowledgement. Ryan barked. That's ridiculous. My mother turned to the crowd. This is exactly what I meant. Emily is upset and being manipulated by an attorney who doesn't understand our family. I looked at her then. Really looked. She was not scared yet. She still believed tone could beat truth. Grant frowned. Mrs. Carter, you assured us. And I stand by that, Mom said quickly. Emily signed. She regrets it now. That is all this is. Lydia opened her laptop. There is video. Denise made a small sound. My mother's head snapped toward her. Ryan stopped smiling. Lydia connected the laptop to the projector at the front of the room. The community hall screen flickered blue, then white. For a moment nothing played. That moment felt endless. My mother used it. This is a private family matter, she said sharply. Turn that off. I finally spoke. No. One word. My voice did not shake. She looked at me like she wanted to slap me in front of everyone and call it discipline. The video began. There was Mr. Alvarez's office. There was my mother in the same cream coat, walking in with Ryan and Denise. There was Ryan holding the folder. There was Denise whispering, "Are you sure this is legal?" A ripple moved through the room. On screen, my mother said, "Legal enough if everyone stops acting scared." Someone gasped. My father's face went gray. Then the video showed Ryan taking out a yellow legal pad. He bent over it, pen moving. "She makes her E like this," he said on the recording. "See? Easy." The room changed. You could feel it. People shifted away from my mother without standing up. Aunt Carol lowered her tissue. Mr. Jacobs, sitting in the back, took off his cap and stared at the screen like he was watching a house burn. My mother's voice cracked. "That's taken out of context." Lydia paused the video. The frozen image showed Ryan copying my signature. Lydia said, "There is no context where practicing someone else's signature beside a property transfer is innocent." Grant stepped back from the microphone. Ryan pointed at me. "You set us up." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny. Because even caught on video, he still believed he was the victim. I walked to the front of the room. Every step felt like walking through years of being ignored, abandoned, betrayed, and called dramatic for bleeding where they cut me. I stopped beside the screen and looked at my mother. "You told everyone I was unstable because I would not let you sell what Grandma left me," I said. "You said you were protecting the family." My mother's eyes were wet now, but not with regret. With panic. I said, "You did not protect the family. You protected your favorite. And when that wasn't enough, you stole my name." No one moved. I pulled Grandma's trust document from Lydia's folder. "There's one more thing," my mother whispered. "Emily, please." That was the first time she had said please to me in years. Not when I was exhausted. Not when I was grieving. Not when I asked her to stop humiliating me in the group chat. Only when the receipts were in my hand. I looked at the room. My grandmother knew this might happen. Her trust says anyone who attempts to transfer the bakery through fraud loses any claim to the remaining estate. Ryan's face emptied. What remaining estate? He said. Lydia answered. The investment account, the lake cabin proceeds, and the insurance distribution still held in trust. My mother grabbed the back of a chair. My father closed his eyes. Ryan turned to her. You said there was nothing else. And there it was. The family tearing itself open around the money they claimed I was selfish for protecting. My mother reached for me. Emily, honey, we can fix this privately. I stepped back. No, I said. You made it public when you called me unstable in front of everyone. You made it legal when you forged my signature. And you made it final when you forgot Grandma knew you better than you thought. The silence after that was not empty. It was full of every lie dying at once. 8. The fallout. The sale did not go through. Grant Holloway's company withdrew within 24 hours and sent a letter claiming they had relied on false representations. Lydia filed for an injunction, then referred the forged deed and fake notary acknowledgement to the police. There was a police report. There were statements. There were consequences. Not movie consequences. Nobody got dragged away from the community hall in handcuffs while dramatic music played. Real consequences are quieter. They arrive in certified envelopes. They sit unopened on kitchen tables. They make phones stop ringing because people no longer know what to say. My mother was removed as a secondary contact from every estate account. Ryan lost his consulting fee, which turned out to be $40,000 promised after closing. Denise admitted she had witnessed the meeting but claimed she thought it was just family paperwork. The notary board opened an investigation into the forged stamp. The county flagged the deed as fraudulent. The family group chat went silent for 3 days. Then Aunt Carol sent one message. Emily, I am sorry. I believed your mother. I stared at it for a long time. I did not answer. Some apologies are real. Some are just people trying to step away from the wreckage before the smoke sticks to them. My father came to the bakery one evening after closing. I was wiping down the counter when the bell chimed. He stood there with his hands in his pockets. Of course he did. I didn't know it went that far, he said. I kept wiping. You knew enough. He looked smaller than I remembered. Your mother can be forceful. I set the rag down. Dad, she forged my signature. Ryan practiced it. You watched them call me unstable. You said nothing. His mouth trembled. I'm sorry. I wanted that apology to fix something. It didn't. So I said, I believe you're sorry. I also believe I'm done letting your silence stand beside me and call it self-love. He nodded once like a man accepting a sentence. Then he left. I locked the door behind him. And for the first time the sound did not feel cruel. It felt safe. 9. What I learned. 6 months later, June's bakery was still standing. The green awning was repaired. The display case no longer fogged because Mr. Jacobs found a retired repairman who refused payment but accepted lemon bars. Lydia became a regular. Mr. Alvarez came in once with his granddaughter and cried when I thanked him. I added one new item to the menu. Grandma's Justice Rolls. Cinnamon brown sugar, orange glaze, and just enough cayenne to surprise you at the end. People loved them. Some customers knew the story. Some had seen clips because someone at the community hall posted part of the reveal online, and it went viral locally. I hated that at first. I felt exposed all over again. But then messages came in. Women who said their families had stolen from them. Men who said they had been called ungrateful for setting boundaries. People who said, I thought I was crazy until I saw your face when she called you unstable. That part stayed with me. Because I had spent years thinking strength meant convincing people to love me correctly. Now I think strength is simpler. It is locking the door. It is calling the lawyer. It is keeping the receipt. It is letting people misunderstand you until the truth walks in with proof. I did not get the mother I wanted. I did not get the father who protected me. I did not get a brother who saw me as more than an obstacle. But I kept the bakery. I kept Grandma's name. And more importantly, I kept mine. My real signature is now framed in the back office, under a small photo of Grandma laughing with flour on her cheek. Below it I wrote one sentence. They can copy your name, but they cannot become the person who earned it. 10. Final message. If this story reminded you of someone who only called it family when they wanted access to your money, your labor, your silence, or your forgiveness, I hope you remember this. Love does not need a forged signature. Love does not humiliate you in public and ask for privacy when the truth comes out. And love does not make you beg to keep what was already yours. Sometimes justice does not arrive loudly. Sometimes it arrives as a document, a recording, a lawyer, a locked door, and one quiet decision to stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. If this story moved you, subscribe to this channel. Every week we share stories of betrayal, survival, family secrets, hidden receipts, and the kind of justice that finally arrives when someone stops staying silent.